Alright guys, welcome back. We're going to be talking about, yes, surprise, surprise, another Yngwie Malmsteen Stratocaster. So before I bore you with too much talk, we'll just bring the guitar out. This one is an extremely rare color, black. So they only made these, well I shouldn't say made, they advertised them for sale from 1990 to 1994. Fender officially says that they made these from 1991 to 1993. So early 90s, not super common, especially this black color, extremely hard to find. I got extremely lucky. This was actually won by somebody who I had never met on an auction site. And, long story short, I was not happy because I missed it. And fortunately, the person that was the seller contacted the buyer. The buyer joined the Yngwie Malmsteen guitar enthusiast group on Facebook, and I was hoping and praying that he would sell it to me after he got it, and he was nice enough to do so. So Andrew, thank you. I really appreciate that. This is a great guitar and fits in extremely well with the other ones. So I've got a few of these. This is the Yngwie Malmsteen Standard Stratocaster. So you'll see that advertised in the Fender Frontline catalog in the early 90s for only a couple years. So we'll do as we normally do, we'll start at the top. So how this differs from the regular Yngwie Strats is quite a few different things. So you see it's got the big headstock, so those of you that like the big headstock, this fits right in, it's great. We've got the bullet truss rod. So Japan was way, way, way ahead of the US in doing the bullet truss rods on the Yngwie Malmsteen Strats, because these date back to 1991, but they were doing Yngwie pre-signatures in 1986, and they had the bullet. So Fender Japan obviously beat the US on that. So the US didn't get it until 2007. They finally got the bullet on the Yngwie Malmsteen signature. All right, so obviously signature on the headstock, 70s type logo, 2 string trees. So I don't know why they did that. Yngwie always pulls out one of them. I'm not going to do it on these just because that's kind of a unique feature of this particular model. It also has Goto tuners. Those were pretty much what Japan was using at the time when these were all made. These are great tuners, very accurate, and hold tune very well. If you're concerned about it, then you can do the little string wrap over method. That works really, really good. And then you don't have to spend money on locking tuners. Surprise, surprise. So another way this differs from the traditional Yngwie Malmsteen models is plastic nut. So these have the plastic nut and not the brass nut. Again, why they did that, I don't know. I would assume just because these were so much less expensive than the American Yngwie models, and these were an export from Japan, so these were sold all over the world. The only Yngwie Malmsteen model that was actually an export from Japan. All the rest of the ones that were made in Japan were only sold in Japan. So, moving on down, the next thing you'll notice is the scallops. The scallops on this are very shallow, and they have ledges, or flat spots, whatever you want to call them. So it, right after the fret, just kind of goes flat a little bit, then you see the scallop, and then it has another little flat spot. So when you're playing, oftentimes you will you'll hit that little flat spot and you can actually touch the fretboard. So probably the only Yngwie Malmsteen model that you'll actually be able to touch the fretboard in any area, because most of the other ones have jumbo frets and deep scallops, so that never happens. Which brings me to the frets. So these have just the vintage style frets, so they're kind of on the small side. So it's a pretty far departure from most of what you would be used to if you had an Yngwie Malmsteen Strat. I wouldn't recommend these to be your first Yngwie Malmsteen Strat because of most of those features there. It's nothing like what you'll get in the Japanese models that are made for Japan or the US models. So if you're looking for like what Yngwie actually plays, this is not it. Still a very cool guitar though, just because of its history and kind of obscurity, so to speak. Next thing, and this is a big one, is that the pickups are all single coils. These are ST Japan single coils. So they're not HS3s, they're not the Duncans, so they're going to buzz like crazy, which of course Yngwie hates, so it's weird that they would put his name on a guitar with single coils, but, you know, who knows what happened or how it happened or why it happened, but it happened. Did I mention it's black? I'm I'm very excited for this guitar just because I've been looking for a black one for years. And when I pulled the neck, you can see handwritten EXIM, which, at least to the best I can tell, means export Yngwie Malmsteen, which is very cool. And that's on the neck and the body. Next thing that is different, this one has 5-way switch. The pots are different. So these are all Japan pots, and they're the big pots. Yngwie is rumored to have used the Japanese pots on his American guitars because they were so much faster, and we obviously know he likes to do his volume swells a lot, so the fast pot helps out with that. It also does not have like TBX tone control or the tone bypass on the tones, so you won't get any of those features either. So it's pretty lackluster as far as the features go, but still a very cool guitar. Next difference, while we're on the front still, is the bridge. So this bridge is die cast as far as the bridge block goes that's in there. It's still a big gnarly bridge block, but it's die cast, so it could wear out faster. I have yet to have one wear out, but some people say they wear out faster, or they suck your tone, or blah blah blah, whatever stupid excuse they make for the guitar sounding different than they want it to. I haven't really noticed that. The bridge saddles are actually die cast as well. The only thing I really noticed different about these versus the bent steel saddles is that these do tend to wear harder. So on the last 2 strings here, there's a little bit of groove. So I just took like a really small diamond file and, smoothed it out and then put a little bit of oil there. And I don't have any tuning problems as a result. So very cool. And the last thing that's different is 3-bolt. So the ST72s that were made in Japan at the same time as these were going down the production line, they were all 3-bolt. So I'm assuming they just didn't want to change their tooling or their process or anything like that. So it was 3-bolt, so they just kept on making these in 3-bolt as well. The last thing is this is consistent with the other Japanese guitars in that the skunk stripe is longer than the American skunk stripe. It goes all the way almost to the very first fret. The American skunk stripe is a little bit shorter. It's about halfway in between the 2nd fret. So don't know why. I don't know if it's just they want to differentiate themselves somehow, or if it's just the way their machines are set up. Who knows? But that's really it about this one, guys. Thanks again.